The Galactic Council space station Harmony floated in the cold darkness between stars like a massive metal flower. Its 12 arms stretched out from a central hub, each arm designed to house one of the apex predator species that ruled the galaxy. For 300 years, these predators had controlled trade, territory, and the fate of countless worlds through strength and fear. Marcus Reed checked his breathing mask one final time as the Earth vessel Endeavour approached the docking bay. The human diplomat was a tall man with graying hair and calm blue eyes that had seen many difficult negotiations. Today would be different from any meeting he had ever attended. Today, humanity would request membership in the Galactic Council. "Ready for this, Marcus?" Captain Lisa Morgan asked from the pilot seat. She was younger than Reed, with short brown hair and the steady hands of someone who had flown through asteroid fields and solar storms. Her voice carried confidence, but Reed could hear the tension underneath. "As ready as anyone can be for walking into a den of the galaxy's most dangerous predators," Reed replied with a slight smile. He looked out the viewport at the massive station ahead. "Remember, Lisa, we are not here as warriors or conquerors. We come as neighbors who want to share a table." The Endeavour settled into its assigned docking port with a soft thud. Reed gathered his diplomatic case while Lisa ran through the shutdown sequence. Through the thick windows, they could see alien figures moving in the station's corridors. Some walked on two legs like humans, but their movements were too fluid, too quick. Others seemed to glide rather than walk, and a few appeared to scuttle along the walls with multiple limbs. "The Vorthak are in docking bay 12, Lisa said, reading from her scanner. "Those are the ones that look like giant mantis spiders. The Grimnal pack is in bay 7. They are the wolf-like hunters with the razor claws." Reed nodded as he reviewed the files on each species. Every one of them had evolved from predators that hunted and killed for survival. Their cultures celebrated strength, dominance, and the taking of resources from the weak. Earth's preliminary scouts had reported that these species viewed cooperation as weakness and sharing as foolishness. The airlock opened with a hiss, and Reed stepped into the station's main corridor. The artificial gravity felt slightly heavier than Earth normal, and the air carried scents he did not recognize. Some smells were sharp and metallic, others earthy and rich. All of them spoke of creatures that were not human. A guide waited for them in the corridor. The being stood 7 feet tall on 4 powerful legs, with a torso that rose another 3 feet above that. Its head was elongated like a horse, but the teeth that showed when it spoke were clearly designed for tearing meat. 2 additional arms extended from its sides, ending in hands with too many fingers. "I am Guide Tall Grass Runner of the Helix people," the creature said in accented but clear English. "The council waits in the central chamber. You will follow protocol or face immediate removal." Reed bowed slightly, a gesture of respect rather than submission. "Thank you, Guide Tall Grass Runner. I am Marcus Reed, speaking for humanity. This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the Earth vessel Endeavour." The guide's large eyes studied them both with obvious puzzlement. "You are smaller than our reports indicated. Also, you show no weapons, no armor, no signs of a hunting pack. How did your species achieve space travel without proper predator evolution?" Lisa exchanged a glance with Reed. This was exactly the kind of thinking they had expected to encounter. "We achieved space travel through cooperation and shared knowledge," Reed explained. "Many humans working together can accomplish what no single human could do alone." Guide Tall Grass Runner made a sound that might have been laughter or confusion. "Cooperation with prey species, perhaps, but surely your own kind compete for resources and territory like all proper hunters." "We will be happy to explain human methods to the Council," Reed said diplomatically. "We believe they will find our approach quite interesting." The guide led them through corridors lined with viewing ports that showed the vast emptiness of space. Other aliens moved through the hallways, and Reed noted how they all gave each other plenty of room. There was no casual contact, no friendly greetings, no signs of the social behaviors that humans took for granted. They passed a group of Vorthak clustered around what appeared to be a feeding station. The spider-like creatures were easily 8 feet tall when standing upright on their rear legs. Their front limbs ended in sharp points that they used to spear chunks of raw meat from a central pile. They ate in silence, each one guarding their portion from the others. Efficient feeders, the Vorthak, Guide Tallgrass Runner commented. No waste, no sharing, no weakness. This is how proper predators consume resources. Reed watched the scene with growing understanding. These species had achieved space travel and advanced technology, but they had never learned to truly work together. Each individual competed with every other, even within their own species. It was a lonely way to live, but it was all they knew. The central chamber of the station was enormous, with a domed ceiling that showed the stars beyond. 12 raised platforms surrounded a circular floor, each platform designed for a different species. Reed could see representatives from all 12 predator races, their eyes focused on the humans who had just entered their domain. A creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard stepped forward from the largest platform. Its voice boomed across the chamber when it spoke. I am Prime Hunter Bone Crusher of the Grimnal Pax. You claim to represent the species called human. We have studied your home world. You appear to be prey animals that somehow developed technology. Explain this impossibility. Reed walked to the center of the chamber, feeling the weight of dozens of predator eyes upon him. Lisa took a position behind him, her hand resting casually near the diplomatic case that contained their presentation materials. Prime Hunter Bone Crusher. Honored representatives of the 12 species, Reed began, his voice carrying clearly in the large space. Humanity comes before you not as prey, but as a species that has discovered a different path to success. We have survived and thrived not by consuming others, but by sharing with them. A ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Some representatives hissed, others growled low in their throats. The concept of survival through sharing was clearly as alien to them as their appearance was to Reed. You speak of sharing as strength, called out a Vorthak from its platform, its voice like clicking stones. This is the delusion of prey animals who cannot face reality. Show us proof of this impossible claim. Reed smiled, and his expression seemed to puzzle the assembled predators. A prey animal should show fear in this situation, not calm confidence. I would be honored to demonstrate human diplomatic customs to this distinguished gathering. But first, I must ask your permission to prepare what we call a breaking bread ceremony. The chamber fell silent. Whatever the aliens had expected from these strange new creatures, it had not been this. Prime Hunter Bone Crusher tilted his massive head, studying Reed with yellow eyes that had never seen prey behave this way. The other representatives leaned forward on their platforms, curious despite themselves. In 300 years of council meetings, no species had ever requested permission to perform a ceremony. Explain this breaking bread ritual, Bone Crusher rumbled. Is it a challenge display? A dominance behavior? We will allow it if it proves entertaining. Reed nodded respectfully, to each platform in turn. The breaking bread ceremony is how humans welcome guests and build trust. It involves preparing and sharing food together. We believe that when beings eat together, they begin to understand each other. A sound like grinding metal came from the Vorthak platform. Click Death Speaks, the mantis spider representative, raised two of her sharp limbs. Food sharing is impossible. Food is survival. Why would any creature give survival to competitors? That is exactly what we hope to show you, Reed replied. He opened his diplomatic case and removed a small communication device. Captain Morgan, would you ask Dr. Walsh to bring the supplies to the central chamber? Lisa spoke quietly into her communicator. Within minutes, the chamber doors opened to admit 3 more humans carrying bags and containers. The aliens watched with growing confusion as the newcomers began unpacking items in the center of the floor. Dr. Jennifer Walsh was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and gentle hands that moved with practiced skill. She wore simple clothes and showed no fear of the assembled predators. Behind her, 2 younger humans helped arrange cooking equipment and ingredients. Honored representatives, Reed announced. I would like you to meet Dr. Jennifer Walsh, our food preparation specialist. Dr. Walsh has spent years studying how different species might share meals safely. Dr. Walsh bowed to the platforms as Reed had done. I am pleased to meet you all. We have brought foods that are safe for most known biology types, along with alternatives for those who require specific nutrients. The Helix representative, long fang strikes, slithered forward slightly on its platform. You carried food across space. Food has weight, takes storage room. This is waste of resources that could be weapons or tools. Food is a tool, Dr. Walsh replied calmly as she began arranging cooking implements. It is the tool that builds community. Without community, humans would have died out long ago on our homeworld. She activated a small heating unit and began preparing ingredients. The aliens watched with fascination as she cut vegetables with precise movements, mixed spices with careful measurements, and combined foods in ways they had never seen. Her actions were methodical, but not aggressive, skilled, but not competitive. These vegetables, Dr. Walsh explained as she worked, were grown by human farmers who spent months caring for them. The spices came from traders who traveled great distances to share them with us. The cooking methods were taught to me by my grandmother, who learned them from her grandmother before her. A low growl came from the Grimnal platform. Your grandmother was a competitor for resources. Why would she teach you instead of keeping advantages for herself? Dr. Walsh smiled as she stirred a pot of soup that was beginning to fill the chamber with rich, warm scents. My grandmother taught me because that is how human knowledge survives. We learn from those who came before us and we teach those who come after us. Each generation becomes stronger because they start with everything the previous generation discovered. The concept was clearly difficult for the predators to grasp. Reed could see confusion and disbelief on their alien faces. These creatures had evolved in worlds where knowledge was power, and power was never shared willingly. Impossible. Clicked, click, death speaks. If all humans possess the same knowledge, how do you determine who leads? How do you decide who gets the best territory, the richest hunting grounds? We work together to make sure everyone has what they need, Reed explained. When humans have enough food, shelter, and safety, they spend their time creating new knowledge, new art, new solutions to problems. A human who is well-fed and secure can invent things that benefit all humans. Dr. Walsh added ingredients to several pots now, creating different dishes that would appeal to different alien biologies. The smells growing stronger in the chamber were unlike anything the predators had experienced. These were not the scents of fresh kill or competitive feeding, but something warmer, more inviting. On Earth, Dr. Walsh continued as she worked, we have a saying, when you have one apple and I have one apple and we trade them, we each still have one apple. But when you have one idea and I have one idea, and we share them, we both have two ideas. The chamber fell quiet except for the soft sounds of cooking. Even the most aggressive predators seemed mesmerized by the careful, peaceful process of food preparation. This was behavior they had never witnessed in any species, behavior that went against everything they understood about survival. Guide Tall Grass Runner spoke from his position near the wall. You prepare different foods for different species, but why? If they cannot eat your food, they are weak. Weakness should not be accommodated. Dr. Walsh looked up from her cooking with genuine surprise. Why would we want anyone to be hungry when we can prevent it? A helix who has eaten well might share knowledge that saves human lives. A Grimnal with a full belly might choose cooperation over conflict. Everyone benefits when everyone eats. She began filling bowls with different combinations of food, each one carefully prepared for the biology of a specific species. The portions were generous, more food than any individual needed for survival. To the watching predators, this seemed like madness or perhaps some elaborate trap. We invite you all to join us, Reed announced, gesturing to the prepared meals. This is how humans begin important conversations. We share food, we share stories, and we find common ground even with those who seem very different from us. The predators remained on their platforms, uncertain and suspicious. Never in their evolution had any of them encountered a situation where potential competitors offered them resources freely. Their every instinct warned them of danger, yet the humans showed no signs of aggression or deception. Dr. Walsh filled her own bowl and took the first bite, demonstrating that the food was safe. Lisa and the other humans followed her example, eating calmly while surrounded by creatures that could kill them easily. The choice is yours, Reed said to the assembled aliens. You can remain on your platforms and observe, or you can join us and experience something that has never happened in galactic history. Predator and prey, sharing a meal in peace. The silence stretched long in the great chamber, filled with the scent of food and the weight of a decision that could change everything. The silence in the great chamber stretched like a held breath. 12 species of apex predators stared down at 4 humans who sat calmly eating their meal, seemingly unaware that they were surrounded by creatures capable of ending their lives in seconds. The warm sense of prepared food drifted upward, reaching alien nostrils that had never encountered such deliberately crafted smells. Guide Tall Grass Runner was the first to move. His 4 legs carried him down from his wall position with careful steps. His horse-like head turned toward Reed, ears twitching with uncertainty. "This food you offer," he said slowly. "There is no debt attached, no obligation, no payment required." Reed looked up from his bowl, his expression open and honest. "The only thing we hope for in return is your company and conversation. In human culture, sharing a meal is how we show respect and friendship." "Friendship," repeated Long Fang Strikes, from the Helix platform. The serpentine alien tasted the word as if it were foreign. "This means alliance? Temporary cooperation for mutual benefit?" Dr. Walsh shook her head gently. "Friendship means caring about someone else's well-being even when it brings you no advantage. It means helping others because their happiness makes you happy too." The concept seemed to physically disturb some of the predators. Click Death Speaks made rapid clicking sounds that sounded agitated. "Impossible behavior. Evolution does not create such weakness. You lie to make us lower our guard." Lisa set down her spoon and looked directly at the Vorthak representative. "We understand why this seems impossible to you, but we are not lying. Commander Jake Phillips, would you join us, please?" Another human entered the chamber, this one wearing a military uniform that was clearly recognizable even to alien eyes. He was a broad-shouldered man with graying temples and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. Several predators tensed at his appearance, recognizing a warrior when they saw one. "This is Commander Phillips," Reed announced. "He leads Earth's Space Defense Forces. Jake, would you tell our guests about the colony ship rescue last year?" Phillips sat down with the others and accepted a bowl of food. "We received a distress signal from a colony ship that was not human. The ship was failing. Hundreds of families were going to die, and we had no treaty with their government. Our rescue would cost us fuel, supplies, and time we could not spare." The predators leaned forward, interested despite themselves. This sounded like a scenario they could understand, one where the strong might prey upon the weak. "What did you do?" asked Bone Crusher, his yellow eyes fixed on Phillips. "We sent every available ship to help them," Phillips replied simply. "We gave them food, medicine, and safe passage to their nearest colony. We asked for nothing in return." A sound like steam escaping came from several platforms. The aliens were clearly struggling to process this information. Sharp Claw Hunts from the Grimnal platform spoke next. "You wasted resources on strangers who could not defend themselves. This makes your own pack weaker. Why did your leaders not stop this foolishness?" Phillips smiled as he ate. "Our leaders ordered the rescue. Every human government voted to help, even though it cost us greatly. Those colonists were someone's children, someone's parents. We could not let them die when we had the power to save them." Dr. Walsh stood and began refilling empty bowls, moving between the humans with practiced care. "This is what we mean by community. Every being we can help becomes part of our extended family. Their safety increases our safety. Their knowledge adds to our knowledge. Their success makes us all stronger." Guide Tall Grass Runner took another step closer to the circle of humans. "The colonists you saved, did they join your military, become your servants, give you their technology?" "They went home to their families," Reed said. "Some of them send us messages now, sharing news from their worlds. Some have become traders who work with human merchants. A few of their young people have asked to study at our universities, but we expected nothing from them." "Expected nothing," muttered Long Fang Strikes. "Received nothing. Lost resources. This is madness." Lisa looked up at the serpentine alien. We did receive something valuable. We received the knowledge that we had acted according to our principles. We received the satisfaction of knowing that hundreds of beings were alive because we chose to help. And we received proof that cooperation creates more than competition ever could. The food smells had grown stronger, and Guide Tallgrass Runner found himself moving even closer to the human circle. His alien biology could process the prepared foods, and his body was responding to aromas that spoke of nourishment and care, rather than conquest and dominance. Your principles, he said carefully. These guide your actions even when they bring disadvantage? Especially when they bring disadvantage, Phillips replied. It is easy to be kind when kindness costs nothing. True character shows when helping. Others require sacrifice. Dr. Walsh approached Guide Tallgrass Runner with a bowl prepared specifically for helix biology. Would you like to try our food? I have prepared this combination to be both nutritious and flavorful for your species. The alien's large eyes studied the offered bowl. Every instinct told him this was dangerous, that accepting food from potential competitors was weakness. Yet the humans showed no signs of aggression or deception. Their body language spoke of genuine welcome, something his species had no word for. Slowly, carefully, Guide Tallgrass Runner accepted the bowl. He took a tentative taste, then another. The food was unlike anything he had ever eaten, not because of its ingredients but because of the care that had gone into its preparation. This was nourishment offered freely, seasoned with kindness rather than necessity. It is good, he said, surprise clear in his voice. You prepared this knowing nothing of my personal preferences, yet it suits my taste well. How is this possible? Doctor, Walsh smiled warmly. I studied the nutritional needs and taste preferences of all 12 species before we came here. I wanted everyone to feel welcome at our table. The other predators watched in amazement as Guide Tallgrass Runner sat down with the humans, eating food that had been prepared as a gift rather than taken as conquest. For the first time in galactic history, a predator species was sharing a peaceful meal with beings they had initially considered prey. This sharing behavior, Bonecrusher rumbled from his platform. How did it not cause your extinction? Surely stronger species took advantage of such weakness. Reed finished his meal and set down his bowl. That is exactly what we hope to explain. Our strength comes not from individual power, but from our ability to turn strangers into friends, enemies into allies. When humans work together, we become something greater than the sum of our parts. The chamber had grown warmer, filled with the sounds of conversation rather than the cold silence of competition. Change was beginning, slow and uncertain, but real nonetheless. The sight of Guide Tallgrass Runner sharing a meal with humans created ripples of confusion throughout the great chamber. The other predators watched their colleague eating peacefully, showing no signs of dominance displays or territorial behavior. This was completely outside their understanding of how different species interacted. Click Deathspeaks descended from her platform with fluid movements, her 8 legs carrying her massive mantis spider form toward the center of the chamber. Her sharp limbs clicked against the floor as she approached, and the humans looked up at her without fear. You claim your species became dominant through cooperation, she said, her voice like grinding stone, but Earth has only one intelligent species. How did you practice this cooperation before you met others? Dr. Walsh gestured for the alien to sit, offering her a bowl prepared for Vorthak biology. We practice cooperation with each other. Humans learned to work together long before we reached the stars. Click Deathspeaks examined the offered food suspiciously but accepted it. As she tasted the carefully prepared mixture, her compound eyes widened with surprise. The food was not only safe, but actually pleasant. Explain this cooperation among your own species, she demanded. Surely the strongest humans take the best resources from the weak ones. Engineer Mike Thompson entered the chamber carrying a portable display unit. He was a young man with calloused hands and oil stains on his clothes, clearly someone who worked with machines and tools. He set up his equipment while the aliens watched. Actually, human strength comes from sharing knowledge, Thompson said, as he activated holographic displays. Let me show you how humans build things. The display showed images of human cities, vast structures that reached toward the sky. But unlike the fortress-like buildings the predators expected, these were communities designed for thousands of individuals to live and work together. One human cannot build a city, Thompson explained. It takes architects to design it, engineers to plan it, workers to construct it, and leaders to organize it all. Every person contributes their skills, and together they create something no individual could manage alone. Sharpclaw Hunts growled from the Grimnall platform. But who leads this cooperation? The strongest must dominate the others. Ambassador Rachel Foster stood and joined the group. She was an older woman with silver hair and intelligent eyes that had seen many negotiations. Her presence seemed to calm the increasingly curious predators. Human leadership is different from what you might expect, Foster explained. We choose leaders based on their ability to serve others, not their ability to dominate them. A human leader's job is to help their people succeed, not to take resources from them. The concept was so alien that several predators made sounds of disbelief. Long fang strikes slithered down from his platform, his serpentine body moving with liquid grace. Impossible, he hissed. Leaders must be strong. They must take what they need to maintain their position. How else do they survive challenges from rivals? Foster smiled gently. Human leaders survive by making their people stronger. When citizens prosper, they support their leaders willingly. When leaders serve well, people choose to follow them. It is cooperation, not force, that creates lasting power. Thompson activated another hologram, this one showing human families. The images depicted adults caring for children, teaching them, protecting them, and investing enormous resources in their development. These are human offspring, Thompson said. Notice how the adults share food with them, teach them skills, and protect them even at cost to themselves. Click Death Speaks tilted her head, studying the images. This is normal parental behavior. All species protect their genetic offspring. But look closer, Foster said, pointing to specific images. These adults are caring for children who are not genetically related to them. Humans adopt orphans, teach other families' children, and invest in young people who share no blood relation with them. The silence that followed was profound. Every predator species protected their own offspring, but the idea of investing resources in unrelated young was completely outside their experience. Why would any creature waste resources on offspring that do not carry their genetic material? Asked Bonecrusher, his massive head lowering closer to the display. Dr. Robert Green entered the chamber, carrying books and data tablets. He was a thin man with gentle eyes and the patient demeanor of someone who spent his life teaching others. He sat down with the growing circle of humans and aliens. Because human children are not just individual offspring, Green explained. They are the future of our entire species. When we teach a child, that child may grow up to discover something that benefits all humans. When we care for orphans, we ensure that no human knowledge or potential is lost. He opened one of his books, showing pages filled with human writing and diagrams. This book contains medical knowledge that has saved millions of human lives. It was written by a woman who was orphaned as a child and raised by people who were not her genetic relatives. If they had not cared for her, all this knowledge would have been lost. The predators stared at the book as if it were a strange artifact from an impossible world. The idea that investing in unrelated individuals could benefit the entire group was revolutionary to their way of thinking. You share knowledge freely, observed Guide Tallgrass Runner, who was now sitting comfortably among the humans. You teach skills to potential competitors. You invest in those who cannot help you immediately. This seems like weakness, yet you claim it creates strength. Green nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. When humans share knowledge, everyone becomes smarter. When we teach skills to others, our entire species becomes more capable. When we invest in children, we create the next generation of problem solvers and innovators. Thompson activated a new hologram showing human scientific facilities. Look at how humans conduct research. We publish our discoveries for everyone to read. We share our methods with other scientists. We build on each other's work to create new knowledge. Sharp Claw Hunts had descended from his platform and was now examining the holographic displays closely. But if you share your discoveries, do your rivals not use them against you? Our rivals become our partners, Green replied. When everyone has access to knowledge, everyone contributes to creating more knowledge. A human scientist who builds on my work might discover something that saves my life someday. The chamber was now filled with the sounds of conversation as predators asked questions and humans explained concepts that challenged everything the aliens thought they knew about survival and success. The meal had become secondary to the exchange of ideas that was reshaping both species' understanding of what it meant to be intelligent life. Click Death Speaks finished her food and looked around at the mixed group of humans and aliens sharing space peacefully. "This behavior you describe," she said slowly. "It suggests that individual weakness can become collective strength." "Not weakness," Reed corrected gently. "Individual humans are not weak." But even strong individuals become stronger when they work with others. Cooperation multiplies strength rather than dividing it. For the first time in galactic history, predators were beginning to understand that there might be a completely different way to think about power, survival, and success. More predators had descended from their platforms now, drawn by curiosity and the growing realization that they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. The circle around the humans had expanded to include representatives from 7 different species, all sharing food and conversation in a way that should have been impossible. Sharp Claw Hunt sat with his powerful legs folded beneath him, his wolf-like features studying the humans intently. As the pack leader of the Grimnal, he had built his authority through displays of strength and dominance. Yet these humans showed a different kind of power, one that seemed to grow stronger through sharing rather than hoarding. "You speak of cooperation and knowledge sharing," he said, his voice carrying the low rumble of a natural hunter. "But all species face conflicts. How do humans resolve disputes without the strong defeating the weak?" Lisa set down her empty bowl and looked directly at the alien predator. "Humans do have conflicts, but we have learned that winning a fight is not the same as solving a problem. When humans disagree, we try to find solutions that benefit everyone involved." "Impossible," clicked Click Death Speaks. "In any dispute, there must be winners and losers. Resources are limited. Territory has boundaries. Someone must take, someone must give." Dr. Green opened another of his books, this one filled with photographs and diagrams. "Let me show you an example from human history. 2 human nations wanted the same river for their water supply. According to predator logic, they should have fought until the stronger took control." He showed images of a great river with structures built along its length. Instead, they worked together to build dams and channels that gave both nations more water than either could have obtained alone. By cooperating, they created abundance from scarcity. Long Fang Strikes uncoiled more of his serpentine body, bringing his head closer to the human circle. But surely this cooperation failed when resources became truly scarce. In desperate times, all species revert to taking what they need. Phillips leaned forward, his military bearing evident even in this peaceful setting. "That is exactly when human cooperation becomes strongest. I have seen human communities share their last supplies with strangers during disasters. I have watched human soldiers give their lives to protect people they had never met. When humans face true hardship, they become more generous, not less." The statement sent a wave of confusion through the assembled predators. Every species they knew became more aggressive and selfish when resources were scarce. The idea that intelligent beings would share their survival resources with outsiders seemed to violate the fundamental laws of evolution. Bone Crusher had remained on his platform throughout the meal, but now his massive form rose and began descending toward the center. His presence caused some of the smaller predators to tense, but the humans remained calm. "You claim that sharing creates abundance," he rumbled as he approached. "You claim that cooperation makes individuals stronger. These claims require proof, beyond stories and pictures." Reed stood and walked to the edge of the human circle. "Prime Hunter Bone Crusher, we would be honored to provide such proof. But first, May I ask you a question about Grimnal society? The massive predator settled his bulk near the group, accepting a large bowl of food that Dr. Walsh had prepared for his specific biology. Ask. How many Grimnal does it take to build a spacecraft capable of interstellar travel? Bone Crusher considered the question while tasting the carefully prepared meal. His expression showed surprise at the food's quality. Another example of humans investing effort in the well-being of others. A Grimnal engineer designs the craft, he said finally. Grimnal workers construct it according to specifications. A Grimnal pilot operates it, perhaps 50 individuals total, each competing to prove their worth. Reed nodded. And how long does this process take? Many seasons. The engineer must develop the design alone, keeping secrets to maintain advantage. Workers must be forced to labor through dominance displays. The pilot must prove superiority over other candidates. It is efficient because only the strongest survive each step. Thompson activated his holographic display again, showing images of human spacecraft construction. Humans built our first interstellar vessel using the knowledge and labor of over 10,000 individuals. Engineers shared designs freely, workers contributed improvements to the plans, and multiple pilots trained together to ensure the mission's success. 10,000, repeated Bone Crusher, his tone showing disbelief. This is wasteful. Too many minds create confusion. Too many hands create chaos. Actually, it creates something better than any individual could achieve, Thompson replied. When thousands of humans work together, each person contributes their best ideas. Problems are solved faster because multiple minds attack them from different angles. Quality is higher because many eyes catch mistakes that one might miss. Foster pulled out a data tablet and showed construction timelines to the assembled aliens. The Grimnal method produces one functional spacecraft over many seasons. The human method produced 12 advanced spacecraft in the same time period, each one more capable than anything built by individual effort. The numbers were impossible to ignore. Even predators who valued efficiency above all else could see the mathematical advantage of human cooperation. Click Deathspeaks made rapid clicking sounds that indicated deep thought. If cooperation truly creates such advantages, why did evolution not favor it in other species? Why are humans unique in this behavior? Dr. Walsh refilled bowls as she considered the question. We think it began with human child rearing. Human babies are helpless for years, requiring enormous investment from multiple adults. Humans who work together to raise children were more successful than those who tried to do it alone. She showed images of human families and communities caring for their young. Over thousands of generations, humans who were good at cooperation had more surviving children. Gradually, our entire species became adapted for working together rather than competing alone. Guide Tall Grass Runner, who had been quietly observing the entire discussion, spoke up. This suggests that human cooperation is not learned behavior but evolved instinct. You cannot help but work together, just as we cannot help but compete. Not exactly, Reed replied. Humans can compete when necessary, and we can choose selfishness over cooperation. But we have learned that cooperation usually produces better results for everyone involved. We choose to work together because it works better than fighting alone. The chamber had grown warm with the heat of many bodies and the energy of intense discussion. Predators who had never spoken peacefully to outsiders were now engaged in the deepest philosophical conversation of their lives. Long fang strikes coiled more of his body into the circle. If what you say is true, then every predator species in this chamber has been following an inferior survival strategy for millions of years. We have achieved space travel and advanced technology despite handicapping ourselves with unnecessary competition. The silence that followed was profound. The implications of human cooperation were becoming clear to the assembled aliens. If humans could achieve more through sharing than predators achieved through dominance, then everything they believed about strength and success might be wrong. Sharp Clawhunts looked around at his fellow predators, all of them sitting peacefully together, in a way that would have been impossible before this meal. We are doing it now, he said quietly. We are cooperating. We are sharing information and food. We are not fighting for dominance, and yet we all remain strong. The realization hit them like a wave. For the first time in their evolutionary history, multiple predator species were working together peacefully, and instead of making them weak, it was making them smarter, more capable, and more aware of possibilities they had never imagined. The breaking bread ceremony had become something far more significant than a diplomatic meal. It was becoming the first step toward a completely new way of thinking about what it meant to be alive in the galaxy. The Great Chamber of Harmony Station had been transformed. What began as a sterile meeting place for competing predators had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a space where former enemies sat together in peaceful discussion, sharing food and ideas as equals. All 12 predator species were now represented in the circle around the humans. Even the most aggressive hunters had been drawn down from their platforms by curiosity and the growing realization that they were witnessing a fundamental shift in how intelligent life could interact. Prime Hunter Bone Crusher finished his meal and set down his bowl with careful precision. His massive claws, designed for tearing and killing, handled the delicate container with surprising gentleness. Around him, other apex predators showed similar unexpected behaviors, speaking softly instead of roaring dominance, listening patiently instead of interrupting with challenges. "Humans," Bone Crusher said, his voice carrying across the chamber with new authority. "What you have shown us today challenges everything our species have believed about strength and survival. If cooperation truly creates such advantages, we must learn these methods." Click Death Speaks raised two of her sharp limbs in what Reed had learned was a gesture of agreement among her people. "The Vorthek Collective wishes to understand human cooperation techniques. Our individual hunting methods have reached their evolutionary limits. We require new approaches to continue advancing." Similar statements came from representatives of other species. Longfang Strike spoke for the Helix Confederacy, Sharp Claw Hunts represented the Grimnal Packs, and Guide Tall Grass Runner had become the unofficial voice for several smaller predator groups. Reed stood and looked around at the assembled aliens. Hours ago, these creatures had viewed humans as weak prey animals. Now they were requesting to learn from the species they had initially dismissed. "We are honored by your interest," Reed said formally. "But cooperation cannot be taught like a skill or technique. It must be experienced, practiced, and gradually integrated into how a society thinks and acts." Dr. Walsh began cleaning up the empty bowls and containers, and without being asked, several aliens began helping her. The sight of apex predators carefully washing dishes alongside humans was surreal, but it was happening naturally as the barriers between species continued to dissolve. "How do we begin this experience?" asked Longfang Strikes. "The Helix have spent millions of years perfecting individual stealth and assassination techniques. We do not know how to trust others with our survival." Foster stepped forward, her diplomatic training evident in her calm demeanor. "Trust begins with small steps. Perhaps we could start with joint scientific expeditions, where humans and one of your species work together to explore new worlds or study cosmic phenomena." "Joint colonies," suggested Phillips. "Humans and aliens settling new planets together, each species contributing their unique strengths to build communities that neither could create alone." Thompson activated his holographic display one final time, showing proposed designs for mixed species habitats. Human engineering combined with alien capabilities could create settlements that are stronger, more efficient, and more adaptable than anything any single species has achieved. The predators studied the designs with growing excitement. They could see how their natural abilities might complement human cooperation. Vorthak precision and human planning, Grimnal strength and human organization, Helix stealth and human communication, networks. Bone Crusher rose to his full imposing height, but his posture was no longer threatening. "The Grimnal Packs propose a formal alliance with humanity. We offer our strength and hunting skills in exchange for training and cooperation methods." The Vorthak Collective seconds this proposal. Click Death Speaks. "We will contribute our technical precision and manufacturing capabilities to joint ventures." One by one, each predator species offered their unique abilities to a growing alliance. The Helix provided reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. The various smaller species offered specialized skills in mining, agriculture, or stellar navigation. Reed felt the weight of history settling on his shoulders. The decision made in the next few minutes would affect the development of galactic civilization for centuries to come. "Humanity accepts your proposals," he said solemnly. "We offer to share our cooperation methods, our agricultural techniques, our educational systems, and our diplomatic approaches. Together we can create something greater than any of our species could achieve alone." Dr. Green stepped forward with one of his books. "We will need to establish joint universities where young members of all species can learn together. Cooperation is best taught to the young, who have not yet fully developed competitive instincts." The idea of mixed species education was revolutionary, but the assembled aliens could see its potential. Young predators learning alongside human children might develop entirely new ways of thinking about survival and success. "Joint military forces," added Phillips. "Human strategy combined with predator combat abilities could provide security for all our peoples without any single species dominating the others." "Shared trade networks," suggested Foster. "Instead of competing for resources, we can create systems where every species has access to what they need, while contributing what they produce best." The plans grew more ambitious as the discussion continued. Joint exploration fleets, combined research facilities, integrated colonial governments, and shared cultural exchanges. The breaking bread ceremony was evolving into the founding moment of a new type of civilization. Guide Tall Grass Runner spoke for many of the smaller species. "We propose that this station, Harmony, become the headquarters for our new alliance. Here, where predators first learn to share a meal in peace, we can continue learning to work together." The symbolism was perfect. The station that had been designed to house competing predators would become the heart of the galaxy's first truly cooperative interspecies government. As the formal discussions continued, Reed noticed something wonderful happening around the edges of the Great Chamber. Younger members of various species, crew members, and junior diplomats who had been watching from the sides were beginning to approach each other with curiosity rather than caution. A young Grimnal was showing his claws to a human engineer, not as a threat but as a demonstration of their capabilities. A Vorthak technician was examining human tools with fascination, while a human scientist asked questions about Helix sensory abilities. The future was being born in these small interactions, in the willingness of young minds to see differences as opportunities rather than threats. Dr. Walsh finished cleaning the last of the bowls and looked around at the mixed crowd of humans and aliens working together. "You know," she said to Reed, "I think this is how all the best changes begin. Around a shared table with people willing to listen to each other." Reed nodded, watching as former enemies made plans to become partners. The breaking bread ceremony had ended, but its effects would ripple across the galaxy for generations to come. In the years that followed, historians would mark this day as the beginning of the cooperative age. Children of all species would learn about the moment when humanity proved that the greatest strength comes not from the ability to take from others, but from the willingness to share with them. The predators had learned to listen. Now, together with humanity, they would learn to build a civilization based on cooperation rather than competition, abundance rather than scarcity, and hope rather than fear. The galaxy would never be the same.